Welcome back to Sleepy Palm Island. Tonight, by the evening shore, the ocean folds the day into quiet waves, and the air carries only salt, breeze, and calm. This story is here to ease the mind after long hours, to release the knots of the body and guide you toward deep sleep and stress relief. So get comfortable, breathe with the tide slowly, and drift into tonight's story. The day closes behind you like a heavy door, hinges sighing, locks falling silent, all that weight left on the other side. Here, only the ocean speaks, low, endless, patient. You step toward it, the sand still warm from vanished light, grains slipping through the spaces between your toes, each step lighter than the last. The air carries salt and cool, threads of breeze weaving through your hair, a scent that rinses the mind clean of numbers, voices, glowing screens. A chair waits, lonely yet faithful, drawn up close to the tide's breath. Its outline holds a promise: sit, rest, be nothing more than presence. You lower yourself, the canvas sighs, the frame remembers every body it has ever held. Shoulders fall, hands loosen, eyes meet the broad fire of evening. Sky pours itself westward, orange melt, the ocean answers with its own story. Line after line written in white foam, then erased in a hush of retreat, then written again, softer, truer. Every rise, every fall, a breath you did not know you were waiting for, a rhythm older than thought, older than worry. You feel the day's knots begin to loosen, feet nest into sand's patient cradle, calves grow heavy as river stones, hips spread into the chair's warm geometry, into plum, plum dissolving into violet, violet lifting the first shy star. The ocean answers with its own story, line after line written in white foam, then erased in a hush of retreat, then written again, softer, truer. Every rise, every fall, a breath you did not know you were waiting for, a rhythm older than thought, older than worry. You feel the day's knots begin to loosen, feet nest into sand's patient cradle, calves grow heavy as river stones, hips spread into the chair's warm geometry. The mind hesitates, still carrying its stacks of paper, its unfinished sentences, its echoes of corridors. But here the surf extends a wide hand, sweeps them into the tide, each page dissolving, each voice turning to salt mist. What remains is breathing, low in the belly, slow in the ribs, gentle in the throat. The sea breathes, you breathe, the two become one sound. A gull stitches the horizon with a single stroke, dark thread across fading gold. Far out, a silver ring expands and vanishes, a quiet surfacing, a return. And as you watch, the thought rises without words. I am safe. I am carried. I am here. The ocean breathes, rolls and folds, arrives and returns, a steady hush that carries the day away grain by grain. You sit, shoulders lowering, hands soft on the armrests, the spine finding a gentle curve, as if the body remembers a language older than errands. All day the mind stacked things, little shining tasks like shells on a crowded table, voices crossing, doors opening and closing. Here the surf clears the table with a single patient sweep, and the shells turn back into simple good shells in the silence of sand. Breath comes like tide, low in the belly, slow in the ribs, easy at the throat. Salt hangs in the air, a fine crystal on the tongue, cool on the lips, and the breeze spreads a linen of comfort over the skin. A gull drifts the seam of light, a dark stitch pulling west, while the first star pricks through a purple fold of cloud and takes its place without hurry. Let the body learn the shore, feet settle in damp sand, warm on the surface where the sun lingered, cool just beneath where the evening keeps its cellar, toes loosening as if untying small knots. Ankles soften, calves soften, knees ease and rest like smooth stones in a riverbed. Thighs grow heavy in a friendly way, the chair's fabric lifting and holding, a cradle woven of simple threads and patience. Hips widen into comfort, belly receives the breath like a tide entering a quiet cove, chest opens a window to the sea. This hour learns trust in life, not a sentence, only the way the wave keeps returning, only the way light finds the water and becomes path. I am open, the heart hums, a low lantern inside the ribs, glowing as if someone kind placed a hand around it. Another breath, another small release. Jaw loosens by a finger width, tongue resting heavy and peaceful, cheeks smooth, brow like a lake at dawn. Behind the eyes a room grows quiet, curtains drawn against the day, a thin orange seam along the floor where sunset slips through. In that room a chair waits too. You sit there also. You breathe there also. And both chairs agree on evening. The sea repeats. The sky agrees. The sand nods with every exhale. Far out, something surfaces, a curve of back, a ring of silver widening, thinning, gone. The mind sees the sign and lets it pass, like a boat that does not need a harbor. Trust in self arrives as a body knowledge, the way hands know how to rest, the way breath knows how to measure the shore. I will meet what comes, a quiet oath inside, not loud, simply true like salt. Clouds settle into long terraces, rust laid over plum, edges feathered by wind. They travel and yet stay, like thoughts that decide to be clouds instead. The day's lists drift to sea on little reed rafts, each with a single pale flag, each finding the open water. You watch until they become dots, until dots become the idea of dots, until even the idea rests. Hands unclasp invisible handles, fingers loosening one by one, thumbs warm and pleased. Palms glow with the day's remembered heat, then give it back to the air. A night bird calls from the palms behind, a velvet note, a single drop into a deep bowl. Silence answers with its own shape. Righteousness becomes delicate and ordinary. The honesty of sitting, the sincerity of breath, the clear intent of rest. The body chooses truth in small ways, chooses ease where effort used to stand watch. The breeze lifts strands of hair, writes short letters on the skin, signs them with salt, then moves on to the next page of evening. A tiny crab rehearses courage near your left heel, lifts a grain of sand like a lantern, sets it down, continues. Impersonality flows in with the tide, a relief from the mirror of the day. Importance dissolves into shoreline, the self becomes beach and chair and dusk, a larger room where everything belongs. Loyalty holds to this path of breath, a path so close it is inside you, a track of tide marks across the ribs. Stay, says the wave, and you stay by breath, by listening, by the soft discipline of presence. Silence grows fragrant, not a lack, a positive bloom. You speak with stillness, one word only, the word the sea always mouths. Here. Joy rises without story, like a small fire kindled in the belly, like a lantern discovered under a step. It warms the chest and climbs the throat, becoming a smile you do not need to show. Purpose gathers itself without noise, a slender compass felt at the sternum, needle steady toward rest. Every wave completes the plan, every breath fulfills it. Wisdom stands nearby as the shore's old keeper, a patient figure with pockets full of shells, sorting, arranging, letting each find its right place. Experience becomes arrangement, arrangement becomes ease. Now the body follows a slow ritual of release. Toes relax, little doors opening to the tide. Soles grow warm and wide, heels nest into damp firmness, arches sigh. Belly rises and falls, a round boat, rope loose on the cleat, wood creaking once and then settling. Ribs expand like shutters swung open to the sea, air entering room by room, leaving doors ajar. Back unwinds its scroll, letters of effort becoming blank parchment, ready for dreams to write in slow moon ink. Shoulders slide down a slope toward calm. Two stones warmed all day, now cooling in stream water. Arms lengthen, hands heavy fruit, fingers soft rain. Behind the forehead, a lake at dusk. On its surface, one star, then two, then more, each appearing without effort, each accepted by the water. The tide noses closer, a playful dog, a friendly messenger, touching the toes with a cool ribbon, retreating, returning. The mind floats its remaining fragments into the dark like paper lanterns, a gentle procession, each rising, each dimming, each dissolving into the wide night. A distant bell from a harbor farther down the curve, one note, then silence so generous it becomes a blanket. You pull it up to the chest without moving. In this hour, obedience to rhythm guides everything. Inhale as the wave gathers its shoulder, pause as it leans, exhale as it bows and spreads itself thin. Listen as it draws its silk away and begins again. Trust in life deepens with each cycle, a root easing into good ground, finding water, finding rest. Trust in self echoes in the steadiness of breath, the way you keep company with your own being, the way you sit in a chair at sunset and let the world be kind. The breeze changes temperature by a whisper, cooler above the skin of water, warmer over the sand, and this gentle difference brushes the calf, rides the forearm, slides across the throat like a touch from an old friend. A moth wanders through the last light and vanishes into the purple. Foam writes cursive across the dark beach, sentences that end in ellipses, always ellipses, because the sea loves to continue. Now the day's work lowers its lantern, sets it upon the tide line, lets it drift. There is nothing to catch, only the long, benevolent undoing, hands on lap, breath in belly, gaze soft as sea glass. You keep watch the way a harbor keeps watch, by shining a steady light, by trusting the boats to find their way. A small inward vow forms without words. To choose clarity like this again, to meet the hours with gentle strength, to serve the whole in ordinary gestures, to speak with care, to smile from the center, to continue. The first constellations knit themselves above the palms, threading needles of silver through the high fabric. The ocean accepts them, breaks them into small coins at the lip of each wave, spends them freely along the shore. Breath grows longer, shoulders looser, thoughts fewer. You feel the world as a single body, tide a pulse, stars a mind, sand a skin, wind a traveling voice, the chair, the person, the hour, one room, one gentle roof of sky. And so the ritual continues. Wave arrives, breath arrives, wave returns, breath returns. Everything moves toward kindness. The ocean breathes slow against the sand, its rhythm steady, its voice low. Somewhere a light winks from a far pier, again, again, unhurried as a heart that has remembered its calm. The night deepens, the colors quiet, the water writes softer lines, and the sea keeps speaking in patient syllables, teaching without argument, singing without melody, saying what the body already knows. Rest is here, trust is here, home is here. The ocean spreads its thought across the evening, broad, unbroken, sure. You watch the low shoulders of water gather and lean, a single curve traveling, a hush lifted from the deeps, laid gently at your feet. A lace of bubbles brightens, threads itself along the shore, fades like breath on glass. Again the sea prepares its sentence, begins from far away, finishes here with soft emphasis. Between arrivals, a pause, wide and kind, filled with the faint sound of pebbles speaking to one another under thin water. Your eyes rest on the line of the horizon, that fine seam where two immensities meet, a quiet stitch holding sky to sea. The day has folded into evening, evening folds toward night, each fold smooth, each fold tender. Clouds drift like slow caravans, bright edges cooling to plum, plum easing toward ink, and the water wears their colors as a patient garment. A gull rides the invisible road above the surf line, tilts, steadies, glides toward a darker west. You follow for a breath, then return to the breathing field of waves. A gull rides the invisible road above the surf line, tilts, steadies, glides toward a darker west. You follow for a breath, then return to the breathing field of waves. The mind observes the rhythm, finds its own agreement, lets that agreement settle in the body. Belly rises on the swell, belly falls with the retreat, a tide kept inside the ribs. Your feet sink a little deeper into damp sand, a slow settling, a promise of support. A ribbon of cool finds the toes, curves around, withdraws, leaving fine crystals shining like seed stars. The ocean continues its conversation with the coast, a dialogue older than memory, phrases repeated without wear, always fresh, always familiar. A dark back surfaces far out, turns, draws a silver ring that widens and thins, becomes smooth water again. You receive the small event as the shore receives the wave, with ease, with space. Breath stays even, soft at the edges, long in the middle. Somewhere beyond the palms, a night insect starts a thread of sound, winding and unwinding, fine as silk. The chair holds you in the simplest geometry, lines crossed, fabric cupped, a vessel that asks nothing. You watch the ocean write its long script shaped along the margin of the world, line after line, each one both the same and new. The eyes learn to follow subtler details, a crest feathering before it breaks, a darker band traveling beneath the surface, the pale reflux that draws scalloped patterns through the thin film of water. Foam forms tiny chambers of air, microcosms of sky, each bursting with a small kiss. Your hands grow warmer resting in your lap, pulses steady. A soft wind draws the scent of salt and cooled sun from the water, lays it like a shawl over shoulders and chest. You count without numbers, one wave, one breath, one release, another wave, another softening. Thoughts appear like birds far off, dark against the dimming sky, cross the mind's horizon, keep going. The sea keeps faith with its rhythm. You keep faith with yours. Some distance away, a fisherman's lantern opens on the dark like a small orange fruit, sways, steadies, becomes part of the pattern. The shore beneath the water gleams the color of warm copper, then cools to pewter as light deepens, then to the gray blue of a sleeping eye. Tiny shells gleam in the wash, rose, cream, smoke gray. A small spiral comes to rest beside your heel, spun house of a long journey, its whirls mirroring the turnings of the tide. Waves shoulder in with a faint muscle, press, flatten, leave behind an even mirror where the sky studies itself, still and calm. You watch the ocean, remember the day and let it pass, the way you remember your own rows of hours and let them pass. Here the world teaches by example. Repeat what is good, move in kindness, rest between efforts. The night clarifies its stars, pin after pin through velvet. Each new light surprises without startling, arrives like a friend who understands when to speak softly. Your jaw remains easy, cheeks relaxed, brow smooth as the tide line after a long, even wave. Breath finds the measure of these visible distances. With the inhale, far is closer. With the exhale, near is kinder. A soft hiss runs along the sand as foam withdraws, like a brush washing itself clean, like silk drawn slowly through careful fingers. The mind learns to occupy wider rooms, a room of sound where surf is the only furniture, a room of scent where salt and cool carry the key, a room of light where the last orange has become memory. You observe a long set forming offshore, darker backs aligned, a slow procession. The first arrives with patient authority, bows, unfurls its banner of white, spreads along the flat shore, returns dignified and spent. The rest follow, each acknowledging the place, each carrying a slightly different letter from the same alphabet. Your spine releases another hidden knot, as if a hand inside found the cord and loosened it. A distant bell marks the channel, its single tone laid into the night like a coin into a fountain. You notice how the water sometimes leaves a thin map of rivulets, delta lines, fine and sure, the geography of the last 15 seconds. Then the next arrival edits the map, redraws the logic, proves again the kindness of change. The ocean does not hurry, neither do you. Palms murmur behind, long leaves combing the darker air. Their hush leans forward and meets the coast's hush. Threads join, a single cloth of sound. Your breath participates, weaving in, weaving out. The mind offers one more ledger of the day, pages you no longer need to read. You watch the book close, feel the cover cool, place it on a shelf made of horizon, turn back to the living water. An eddy slides across the skimming layer near your toes, spins a tiny galaxy of light, winks away. All galaxies do this, only timing differs. A cloud breaks open along its bottom edge, releasing a small violet rain you cannot feel, only see as texture upon distance. The sea's skin gathers a nap as the breeze freshens slightly, ripples shivering the reflected stars without erasing them. You listen into the sound, hear the lower register where water drags 1,000 grains, hear the middle register where foam whispers, hear the high register where bubbles burst and make lace. You notice kindness alive in the scene, in the way each wave arrives willing to become the next, in the way the sand accepts every print and smooths it clean, in the way the sky shares its light without keeping account. Hands rest, palms open, fingers curved as petals. A cool kiss of wind passes, leaves the warmth brighter by contrast, moves on. You keep watching. Closer now, a wave rises just enough to show its luminous belly, a pale translucence where the sunset still sleeps, fins of light inside water. It leans, breaks with hushed certainty, lays its gift along the shore, withdraws. Another follows, smaller, as if remembering a promise. Between sets, the flat water ticks softly as droplets fall back from the last falling edge, a jewelry of tiny impacts, a song only the dune grasses and the careful ear can hear. Your breathing learns that song, counts it without numbers, rests inside it like a bird inside a safe eave. The star field increases, constellations begin their slow conversation with the sea, mirrored patterns quivering at each break, stories washed clean of noise. You do nothing but witness, and this doing is complete. A shore crab makes a neat tunnel, sand purling around its work, then disappears, labor ending in perfect stillness. Work knows how to end. The sea teaches that too. A thin glow remains far to the west, a seam of copper hammered almost flat, still giving itself to the water. You watch until it becomes thought, then feeling, then rest. The breeze carries a different scent for a moment, distant sweet smoke, perhaps from a small fire beyond the palm ridge. It mingles with salt, with the mineral cool of evening, with the faint ghost of sun-warmed metal from the chair's frame. You breathe them as a single accord. Your neck lengthens, head floats like a quiet moon on a dark lake, eyes half-lidded and grateful. The ocean keeps writing, vowels in foam, consonants in undertow, grammar in the patient rise and fall. You read by listening. Another set forms. You see the organization far out, lines assembling, energy traveling with a calm decision. When it reaches you, a firmer push under the soles, a wider lace of foam, a fuller hush, then the drawing back, silk between careful fingers, the seam smoothed. The stars thicken above the palms, a slow frost of light. Somewhere a satellite glides, a seed moving through invisible furrows, a human touch on the old field of night, and even that becomes gentle under the ocean's hymn. Your chest is warm, your belly easy, your limbs carried by the woven cradle of the chair. The mind opens its hand and lets the last pebbles fall. They make no sound, they were ideas only, and the shore prefers water. You observe the ocean the way a father watches a sleeping child, with care, with quiet, with a patience that is also joy. Another minute, another breath. Time stretches like the wet sand when the wave pulls away, becoming more of itself, smooth, unhurried. You watch tiny points of light in the foam, phosphor caught by the break, flecks winking alive and gone, as though the sea were counting blessings in small sparks. In the dark water just beyond the break, shadows assemble and part, currents drawing invisible calligraphy, a script meant only for the great fish and the moon. You lean a little deeper into the chair, as if becoming a part of the shoreline's shape, an honest curve where land meets body meets sea. The ocean meets you back, each wave a gentle greeting, each retreat a promise to return. Breath, wave, breath, wave. A simple wisdom spreads through the muscles. Do less, let more, be held. The bell in the channel speaks again, low, round, true. Its tone travels across the skin of water, reaches the skin of your forearm, enters, becomes calm. You keep watching, and watching becomes rest, and rest becomes the way the sea sees itself in you. Now the shore shines lightly in starlight, silver pressed thin over black, edges softened, everything nearer to dream. The ocean continues, steadfast, tender, teaching the body one quiet lesson over and over until the lesson is the body, and the body is the lesson, and both listen to the same endless voice. The water arrives, the water returns, the heart answers, and answers, and answers. The ocean slows its breath, longer pauses between each word, softer syllables laid upon the sand. The shore accepts everything, footprints, foam, shadows, all smoothed, all quieted. Your body follows, ankles heavy, legs quiet stone, belly rising and falling in wide, even arcs. Arms rest as though they have always rested, palms open, fingers curved like petals closing for the night. The chair becomes part of the earth, woven fabric, patient frame, a cradle that needs no effort. Breath slows, meets the wave, meets the night, becomes the same. Above, the stars gather in silence, one by one, a gentle harvest across the dark. The sea continues its hymn, each line quieter, each return softer, each pause longer, and deeper still, to only breath, to only stillness, to only rest. The ocean watches, the sky watches, the palms breathe their slow lullaby. You are held, safe, whole, asleep. The night continues, quiet.